I continue my real-time exegesis of the science of logic, and I could say that the world is a labyrinth, and the only way not to get lost within the labyrinth is to follow Ariadne's thread. And this is a logical thread, but not ordinary classic symbolic logic, but supernatural logic, which is Hegelian logic. And I perfectly know that while trying to uh, awaken the Hyperboreans, I think that I am working for the good of Europe, which in a way I am. But at the same time, the knowledge that I produce is universal, and when these videos will be watched by the many, and they will, it is not only the highly enlightened Europeans which will become fully aware of their own essence, but every thinking entity. But the reason why I start with what I call the Hyperboreans, which are the most enlightened mirrors of the one eternal logical idea, is because Europe is the first spiritual entity to be awakened in the path of spirit becoming conscious of itself. So yeah, that's what Hegel calls a trick of reason, and someday people will understand what a trick of reason is. But because what I want to say is that when you believe that you possess reason or logic, actually it's logic and reason who possess you. But the whole purpose of Hegel's philosophy is to accept as a gift, which is also a curse, but you have to accept it as a gift, to be possessed by divine reason and divine logic. So I continue my exegesis. It is worthy of amazement and wonder when a people is deprived of metaphysics, when a people has lost its metaphysics, because it is the spirit which is busy with conceptualizing and thinking its own essence. So among the non-European peoples, there are many who have no metaphysics in the sense of a classical, philosophical, conceptual understanding of their spiritual essence. But the peoples who have no metaphysics, they are often animistic, for those that we qualify to be the most primitive, but they are metaphysicians because they understand that nature is animated by spirits and living overworldly entities, and they don't need the conceptual detour, the complexity of thinking abstract thoughts. They know to be in harmony with the universal life, so to speak. And among the more cultured peoples who have no metaphysics in the way that we Europeans understand it, think about some Muslim countries, they have schools of metaphysics, but it's not as developed as in Europe. They understand divine truths through the mediation of religion, because religion and metaphysics are identical in content but not in form. And so the abstract self-thinking thought is a speciality of Europe. What differentiates Europe from all other peoples, or most other peoples, is that Europeans make things very complex. They go through logical detours in order to reestablish the substantiality of being, the oneness with the divine and with the universal spiritual life. Europeans need to think things through, one could say. So that's, yeah. But every people has its metaphysics. But what is special about Europeans is that they express it in a very abstract, logical, philosophical terms, and that's what is so special about Europe. So it's an amazement and a wonder to notice that a cultured people with a high culture, who has lost its metaphysics and who has no metaphysics anymore. And modern Europeans and Westerners have no metaphysics anymore because they don't believe in the need for metaphysics. And uh, cultural Hegelianism is an attempt to show and to prove that the anti-Hegelian philosophers of the past 2 centuries are moments in the realization of Hegel's system, because the abstract truth of Hegel's system is the triadic Trinitarian movement, abstract, negation, concrete. And Hegel's system of the German philosopher of early 19th century Germany is the abstract moment of Hegel. The past 2 centuries in the history of philosophy are the negation of Hegel, because every philosopher since the past 2 centuries has attempted, most of them, to negate Hegel, to contradict Hegel, to refute Hegel. And that's the moment of the negation. And the moment of the concrete is the return of Hegel, which now includes within his own system all the contradictors, all the negations, all the refutations, and only this coming back to itself after having been negated is the real system of Hegel. So we have to apply Hegel's recipe, his dialectical trick, to his own system, and only by being dialectically negated can Hegel's system really become Hegel's system. And you will understand that later, but that's just what I wanted to say. So one might say that the reason why the West and Europe, and when I say the West, I mean peoples of mostly white inhabitants, the reason why the West has lost its metaphysics is because, in essence, European metaphysics consists in integrating within itself the moment of its own negation, and after having been self-negated, to come back into oneself. And let me illustrate this with pagan images. Odinn, who loses an eye, who sacrificed a part of himself by inflicting physical pain onto itself, it's a way of expressing that the path to attainment of knowledge includes self-negation and infliction of self-negation. So Odinn and his way to spiritual wisdom is an expression of in pagan myth of this metaphysical movement of self-negation. And the left has attempted to deconstruct Western metaphysics, but even before that, Schopenhauer tried to refute Hegel, Nietzsche tried to refute Hegel, Marx tried to refute Hegel, the philosophical analyst, the analytical philosopher of Russell, and the school of Carnap and Wittgenstein, they tried to refute metaphysics. The post-modernist, the deconstructionist, the atheist, they all tried to deconstruct metaphysics. And since Hegel is the emperor of Western metaphysics, they all tried to deconstruct Hegel. So yeah, the theology was the keeper, the guardian of the speculative mysteries. And what is speculative is a mirror conceptualizing itself. There are 3 moments in thought. There is what is immediate, what is immediately present. through an act of reflection, of separation, we transform what is immediately given into two modes of being, the immediate thing and the thought that we have about the thing. For instance, the physicists transform uh, material objects into an idea of force, the electromagnetic field, the electromagnetic force and the force of gravitation, and they understand that the material objects are appearances of manifestations of the two, which are actually four fundamental forces of physics. So they go from the immediately given object to the thought of what lies behind, what is behind, which is the forces at work and the physical laws at work. But then we are in a situation where we have two objects. We have the immediate object and the reflection of this immediacy, and it is not satisfying because there is a split within consciousness, and speculation consists in, after having reflected upon an object, and when you reflect, there are two moments. There is the object and the image, the reflection, and speculation is the reflection of a reflection. It is the third moment of thought, which consists in reuniting what has been separated and to bring it back to unity. And in pagan images, there's the idea that there is the sun, the light of the sun, which projects its light onto the moon, and the moon is enlightened by the sun. It's the reflection of the sun, because when we look at the moon, we see the light of the sun. The moon has no light of its own, it's simply a reflection. But the third moment is the sacred lakes in Scandinavia, when you see the light of the moon reflected in the water of a lake. You see the reflection of a reflection, and it is a speculative illumination because you see the primordial light having been reflected twice, and when you understand that, it's the natural pagan image which illustrates in the realm of nature the speculative movement. Yeah. And by the way, I don't know if I would put the link to a song below, Come to the Labyrinth. And I would like you, if you are a Hyperborean, or if you think you are, or a pagan in the way of being, in the process of being enlightened, to listen to the song and to try to replace the words expressed in this song, like labyrinth, by understanding that the world is a conceptual labyrinth, the light is the logical, intellectual understanding, and the candle is the thread of light and stuff like that, and try to have an intellectual understanding of the song, and you see that you will understand much better. I continue. Through logic, we learn how to think. It is the science of thought. And this is the utility, the purpose, and the goal of logic is to learn how to think. But Hegel says that we can digest and eat without having an understanding of anatomy, of physiology. We can eat elements, and fortunately we can eat and digest before we understand anatomy or physiology, because if it required to be a specialist in physiology before being able to eat and drink food or water, we would have starved long ago. And the same goes for logic. We all think with our own logic without understanding how our own mind works, and the study of the science of logic is to the mind what the study of anatomy and physiology is to the body. In a way, it is a way of understanding how our minds function, and it is only once you've been plunged into the world that you can reflect upon the functioning of your own thoughts. And yeah, I will stop there for now. I will continue in later videos, but listen to the song and try to connect the dots.